I don't know. I'm hitting these buttons that make us be noisy and live and all that stuff. Hi, everybody. Welcome to discussing tabletop.
Yeah, that's a word. We're off to a good start.
Oh my god, my brain is just not working today. That's okay. Look, hi everybody. It's May 11th.
It's okay. One day your brain will work.
No,
It probably won't.
long past that point.
No, I ended up grabbing the new headphones I'd ordered, and I don't like them, nor can I get them to work properly.
Oh.
Only one of the headphones makes noise, and I don't know how to change my settings to get it to work because it's not a USB one; it's a plug-in one.
Oh,
because I had to order online. They don't show you everything, and it was
yeah.
great. So
Well, that means your computer might only have a mono out.
That might explain it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, so probably gonna be returning those and maybe exchanging, figuring out what next is. But
yeah.
So, anyway, but that's a quest for the next couple of days, and maybe ordering more Hub Pros. Now I'll probably just have to continue to worry about sound, and hopefully it continues to work, and etc. And they don't break. We got an interesting docket of some topics, and a deeper discussion topic that I was going to use last week, but then we had May the 4th be Star Trek, so I just pushed it to this week, so yeah. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, though, were a few small updates, because there were a few things that popped out in my radar this week that I did want to throw out there. The first is, of course, we talked about a few weeks ago, the At the Gates done by Onyx Path that has a very, the art style is very, very old Final Fantasy. It's, backer kit is live. So I wanted to throw that out there as an update. And then there was actually an update, not enough for a full video or full discussion, on Wonders of the First, because it's technically off of Kickstarter now. Because Kickstarter was like, wait a second, you technically broke our terms of service even though you mentioned this stuff earlier and we should have known about it. The people, the NFT, I guess, also
them.
Game. Yeah.
Good.
So now they're gone, but I checked it out and they're relaunching in a couple of days. So I don't know what's going on with this entire thing. Like, maybe they're just going to be separating out the just AI card game version of it and not mentioning all the NFT stuff, and also just if you are in us, you can join our private thing where we totally talk about all this stuff and agree to this theme. So, it's just separating it out from...
Wait, does Kickstarter have an anti-NFT policy?
So, I did see another Tabletop Gaming article about it, and the entire thing is... basically, Kickstarter gave them 48 hours to remove it, or if they were going to remove it. And the reason they cited was to prohibit the offer of equity or similar financial instruments.
Oh, yeah, so you can't
specify
you can't
NFTs.
give a... It doesn't specify NFTs, but NFTs are considered a type of... Because they are considered a commodity, basically. It's something used for the purpose of reselling, is basically the idea.
The thing is, I don't know what's been going on, because this was on the 7th and update on the 8th, and when I checked earlier today, they were off but redoing it. And as of the 7th, the person that was behind the project was like, we're not going to go voluntarily, and we're going to fight against, this breaking of their policies. But it sounds like maybe they just folded. Make it easy. I don't know. But I mean, they're coming back with something different and probably not off. I don't know what they're doing. It feels like they're just gonna redo the scam in a different way. I don't know.
I mean, I think the idea is that NFTs, because of the whole blockchain thing, they're considered a monetary value because they're non-fun. They're what an NFT is the value is in the non-fungible token, not in the item itself. It's just the item.
I'm back. Who's doing NFTs? Sorry,
It's
I've
the-
got a tornado
Yeah.
warning.
Remember the other week we talked about Wonders of the First, the
Yeah.
AI people? Yeah, they're still doing stuff.
Oh, very cool.
Kickstarter technically threatened to kick them off in 48 hours. They were like, no, we're not going to do it. But when I went to their Kickstarter page just to check it, it is gone, but they have a coming soon in a couple of days to relaunch.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, and my point though is
Yeah.
that like so apparently they were threatened to take down because you aren't allowed to like give money or things that have things for monetary value, which NFTs are.
And the thing is, stuff falls through the cracks. It could have just been that Kickstarter themselves just didn't notice that was going on. So, when it was brought to their attention, when their campaign was getting big, they're like, wait a second, this goes against our policies. Because they did approve it early. Things slip through the cracks. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and also it's all like, who knows? I mean, they could have been sneaky and added NFT in afterwards. Like because you can update your page after you do stuff. I mean, that's how you do. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, no. Part of it's just like, okay, they're not going to do NFTs. What's funny though is I think the reason they're doing Kickstarter is because I don't think BackerKit allows you to use content with AI art in it.
Ah. Yeah.
So like they wouldn't be able to go to like BackerKit.
So, just a few updates there. A product that we talked about is live on BackerKit, and this thing is still going on, so keep it in mind. Anyway, there's a few things from Magic, and let's talk about them first. First off, we've talked about a few of these, but they did have an official Secret Lairs Super Drop. I just wanted to mention it because it continues to be. I really think they're drawing they're scraping the barrel in a weird way at this point in time. The Hatsune Miku and the Comic Sans are part of this, but they have playing cards, more like outlaw showcases that they had in Thunder Junction, and then like these weird outlaw anthologies, which I don't know where are supposed to be art-wise, and then I guess like Instagram stuff for goblins. That's so weird. Yeah.
No, I saw Goblin Grind, and I'm actually kind of like, it's almost disturbing in how weird that one is.
They're all kind of weird and out of ideas. I'm not gonna lie. At least it was nice to talk about Hatsune Miku and weird to talk about the Comic Sans one, but the other ones are just kind of weird and they're there now. So
that one I think is kind of interesting, kind of like the style of it, but
I don't know their value. That's something you have to look up yourself. If they're still available, because, hey, it could have already sold out now because they're limited supply, because this was, yesterday where they announced a bunch of these, and they could already be gone.
The poker ones are interesting, although they look like tokens. Are they just tokens?
No, they're actual creatures. Like
Okay.
Goblin King is a classic from Unlimited, the original first edition.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then we do have that they are giving stuff related to Baldur's Gate free, because they had done the Commander Legends Battles for Baldur's Gates, but now apparently they're doing a special for the 50th anniversary of D&D, and it's going to include some characters from Baldur's Gate 3.
Momo will be back in a moment, so.
Okay. So I mean, like, if you're, it's an opportunity for some cards that weren't there before, but also some cards from the original Commander Legends set that came out, I think, last year. So it's interesting, and it's a play event at stores, is the thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Magic the Gathering, but at least it's some kind of celebration of D&D's 50th.
Yeah.
I guess it's the crossover that they're doing. I feel like some of the things they've done for 50th are great, others are weird, and this is just another one of those ones where I'm like, I don't know if this is like the direction you go for this, but it's fine. Not terrible.
Mild spoilers in this, I'm gonna say. If you haven't played Baldur's Gate, because they kind of list all the locations in it.
Oh yeah, the Baldur's Gate Wilderness. Yeah, for a dungeon that includes.
Yeah,
and the last part of this is interesting because they've had some stuff like this, but I wasn't really going to talk about this until I saw some of the information on here, and that's the upcoming Magic Fest. Or Magic Con, I should say. So it seems like Wizards or something adjacent to like Wizards is finally doing a official convention more than just like the Magifest events that they do.
Okay.
This is the first Las Vegas Convention Center in October.
Oh, yeah, there it says. It was right at the top, and I just didn't see it.
I think, like, the thing is, like, I started looking through here, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's, like, a promo card you get, there's some other stuff I did. Then I saw the different tickets. Youth single day, youth weekend, single day. Premium single day, weekend. Weekend's $90. Okay. Regular price $100, early bird $90. Okay. Premium weekend. If you get a premium one, then you get like special stuff in it. Then Legendary VIP and Black Lotus VIP for $750 or $825. Yeah. I mean, like, oh, I don't think I've seen many conventions that do stuff like this. I'm sure there are stuff like this, but it feels very... I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't feel good, you know? About, like, seeing those like, higher-end ticket kind of things. Like, 2 premium levels?
2 premium levels, and it's like, okay, there's a VIP lounge, there's exclusive deck boxes and sleeves, and just a bunch of little exclusive things you get.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like most cons get around that by selling things at the con.
Yes. Yes, it turns out that's kind of what they do. I think it's the thing that, like, having been to, I guess not as many recently, but a lot of different types of conventions. I have been to a good number of them. I've been to a couple of different conventions.
Also, no, you do not get a Black Lotus card for getting Black Lotus VIP.
No, you get, like, things that have Black Lotus on them. Like, I guess a wearable pin or something? A drinkware, a lanyard, and a playmat that all have the Black Lotus on them, and a Black Lotus VIP branded bag, just to show off, I spent $1 billion more than you.
Yeah, I mean, that means a lot to some people, in certain groups.
Yes, in certain circles, that certainly would.
I mean, every other circle just thinks you're an idiot.
Oh,
which you
God,
pretty much are, but...
Yes. You're spending... Okay. Like, actually, no, there are 3 levels of VIP, because there's Premium Weekend, VIP, there's normal VIP, and then Black Lotus VIP. It's sort of like, it's so weird to have, like, not only, like, it's fucking the collector boosters. This is for the collector booster people. They're screaming for those whale people. They're like, come to our event and spend $1 billion and get us money on shit that's is very cheap.
Well, yeah, it's stuff that they can easily mass produce and give out for, like, I mean, like, if they get 20 people buying the Black Lotus, VIPs, they'll like make a profit because, on the stuff.
It's like financially, like, I see videos from people that they like look at the financial value of like things like those collector boosters, which are really expensive, and they very, very, very rarely actually break even if you buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Granted, buying a box of Magic cards, am I going to get my value's worth? Honestly, probably break even, but a lot of it's going to be in chaff, You might at least, even with, like, just getting a lot of sucky rares, a lot of just bulk chaff, you're at least getting your value's worth from cards, buying more box.
Yeah, if you're, like, going to do full-time selling, you can actually make, I think you can actually, like, make a living off, like, Magic cards if you basically just buy a bunch of boxes and then sell all of the cards, like, if that's what you're doing. I think you can actually make a living that way, but, like, you're basically just playing the odds at that point, because it's like, well, I'm gonna get something good eventually. But yeah, no, events like these, they're not gonna give you the good stuff. They want to sell the good stuff, not give out the good stuff.
Well, that's why like they've got a special secret layer drop that's going to be at the convention. Also.
Yep.
I can see here. It's just, I just, you know, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a very great convention overall. Maybe it'll be better than what it looks like because of the people that are there, things that they do there. You know,
I mean, they'll probably have like a competition, which could be fun.
Some panels, some like guests of like. It looks like they'll have some guests, some content creators and artists and stuff like that. That'll be really
yeah. Cool. I mean, like that kind of stuff could be fun. It's like I can see it. It's yeah, but like 3 exclusive tiers, which is what cons normally do for those kinds of things, is they sell stuff to make up that kind of extra money, not sell to. Are they expecting people not to buy things while they're there? Or are they going to do both? Or they're just trying to make bank? Probably this latter. They're just trying to make as much money as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I look at the stuff they're offering, like the premium weekend, you get foil versions of the promos, and then you get like 3 packs of magic cards, a playmat, and like, you know, a deck box and sleeves. I mean, for like an extra $60 to $65, okay, whatever. You know, that stuff is probably actually, honestly speaking, you could just go regular weekend and buy it for the premium stuff. I'm gonna say, like, you know, it's a weird thing. You know, just sell the playmat out of place. Just sell the exclusive deck box sleeves out of place. Just sell your cards at the place.
I mean, like one VIP tier where you like get into a VIP box and maybe get a few special little items. I could totally see that. Like that's you're gonna have those kind of fans anywhere, and people will love that. But like 2 whole VIP sections where you get a VIP lounge and it's just like way inflated prices. And these are probably going up on, where are these going up? Where do you buy them?
Oh,
if it's Ticketmaster. Oh no, you're buying them through.
You're buying them through Wizards, it looks like, directly.
That's okay. So they don't have probably that inflation pricing, so at least that's a good thing.
Yeah. They're selling directly from themselves. So.
Yeah, so at least you're not going to be paying like $8,000 for the Black Lotus VIP thing.
That's
which
true.
You know you might end up doing if it was Ticketmaster.
Very true. You know, and I'm gonna say like, you know, 90, 100 for I guess a 3-day weekend convention. That's fine. They know that's a normal price for stuff. You know, I feel like that's not terrible. What's the youth level?
Also, the title is very, very ominous. No one escapes the gathering.
It's very nice.
It's like,
okay,
don't drink the punch if you go there.
Okay, so the youth is from 10 to 15. You get $50 for weekend. That's not too bad for younger people, and free if you're under 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it is kind of like youth is 50. Yeah. How old is youth? Does it say
15 is the oldest, and if you're under
okay.
9, you as long as you're with a paying adult, you're free. 9 and under. So, it's like 10 to 15 is the youth one. Again, that's not a bad price. I feel like that's fine. I'm not against that. Yeah. It's like there are aspects of this I'm not against. I'm not against like the single day, the premium idea. Not a fan of it. Or like the normal.
Again, the
weekend.
reason Magic
but the premium one, I don't mind it. I know because it can. It's Wizards gets away with it.
Yeah, it's like we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't make them oodles of money, which it probably will, because Magic people have way too much money.
The people they target have way too much money. They certainly do. You know.
Yeah. But if it doesn't make them oodles of money, then they just won't have it next year. If they do, you know.
Again, just I see this and I'm like, I know there's just a bunch of like the spending assholes who are getting this Black Lotus VIP, and it just turns my stomach because it's sort of like I look at what the list of what you get, and it's not worth like so much more than the normal price.
Oh,
it's like 5 times the normal price. It's just like,
I guarantee you, at least 10 people will buy the Black Lotus VIP, not read this list, and be disappointed when they don't get a Black Lotus. at least.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that one. Oh, Wizards. Well, we do have one other thing to talk about for two other things to talk about with Wizards tech. Because D&D also has some stuff. Look at that.
Ooh, dinned.
Yeah. So they have given an announcement about the new rules and their current SRD. So it seems as though the updated 2024 core rules will be in Creative Commons at least already. They're planning on putting it in there, just like they did with the 5.1 SRD previously.
Okay.
I don't know how. I think they haven't gone back and done any of the older stuff. I think that was talked about. They haven't done that, but at least I guess it's fine. I think this is fine because again, it's one of those things that they're in a position where I feel like they really need to after all the stuff they burnt previously revolving around SRDs and stuff, and they're hoping to win people back. But again, we're gonna have to see what's going on with fucking 5.2, their new version.
Yeah, yeah, and well, they are actually not going to do it right away though. They're going to do the SRD when the Monster Manual comes out. So there's going to be September to February, so about 6 months. You won't be able to do stuff with it.
Yeah,
that's enough time to where people can start working on it, on stuff, knowing they will be able to. But yeah. It took them, apparently it took them 4 years for the first one.
For the first,
In 2 years. In 2016, 2 years after the debut of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition was released, accompanying SRD 5.1, allowing our amazing community to publish content compatible with the game. So you weren't allowed to for 2 years.
That's an interesting thing that they kind of kept exclusive for that long.
Yeah.
I guess people were still just publishing stuff under the old SRDs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's an interesting thing. I wanted to mention it. It's something that we foresee is going to happen. So, and they do still say on here they're looking at previous edition stuff. I'll see when I believe it on that one. Let me say. Hopefully we'll see it. Alright, well, I could just link to I'll start with the Twitter announcement on this one, which is a Twitter X.com. It still says Twitter.com on this page.
It still says, it's still Twitter. That's the thing, it's still Twitter.com, so I still just say Twitter.
Yeah, it's works. But I also have the Dicebreakers article on it, because that kind of goes into some other information around it. But basically, the people behind Dead by Daylight, which, I gotta be honest, it's not my kind of game. I occasionally have watched people sometimes play it. Usually either in a group when they're doing survivors, or if they see someone it looks like they're playing, like a killer or something. That can be interesting, But it's a very rarity on that.
Oh, it's that game. My brain could not remember for the life of me for a second what Dead by Daylight was, but now I remember. Okay.
Yes. But apparently they're getting the Beholder from D&D.
Okay.
Again, I don't feel it's not necessarily the weirdest choice of anything. It's probably it's fairly non-humanoid, and that's the thing is, I feel like most of the things that, you fight, the enemies in Dead by Daylight are, humanoid.
Yeah.
And apparently game devs are terrible. Well, I mean, that's just kind of terrible. Sorry to say. But it's great that they, it's another group that's just probably terrible.
I haven't seen, anything Dead by Daylight in a long time. What? Have they changed their format, or is it still you monster and a few players?
Yes and no.
Is there a story mode or something they added or something? I don't
there's
know.
There's a few people that I will occasionally see some Steam. I'll check out parts of it, because sort of I could list 3 or 4 people that, the people that I said were they're playing. These are the people that usually are doing some, either testing out something, they're doing some single player as the monsters and stuff like that. They have added a lot of stuff. Like they've added a lot of more like licensed enemies. So like now there's like, you know, you can be Freddy Krueger or you could be Michael Myers or like, you know, the alien from Aliens, you know, things like that. With some of their own stuff too. And I feel like it's just like it's just one of those games that's constantly being updated.
Oh, Pyramid Head.
Yeah. Oh, Pyramid. I forgot about that. And like, oh, yeah, Wesker from Resident Evil. I remember when they did the Resident Evil crossover. I see that was happening. Again, I have never played this game in my life, and never do I really feel like playing. I don't think I own it.
I think it'd be fun, but I also just don't care too much.
Again, like, in the aspect of fun with friends, I can see that. You know, a little bit more, where you're like, you know, trolling around with 4 friends or 3 friends and doing something.
They have Charles Lee Ray, also known as Chucky. They also have a Xenomorph, so they do have some weird things.
Yeah, and some
and a weird
plenty. Yeah,
robot thing.
And like I think the enemies from Saw and like Sadako from The Ring. I'm trying to remember more of them. You know.
Oh, they have a Cenobite.
Oh, that's right. They put in the what's this Pinhead. Yeah, I forgot about Pinhead. It's a weird collection of stuff. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
lie.
I mean, yeah, the idea is you're a bunch of normal people like running away from a monster trying to basically escape by daylight.
You know, and it's solving generators to escape and stuff like that. It's the core aspect of the gameplay. I think has been unchanged. I think there's details that have altered since it first came out all those years ago now. Because fucking 8th anniversary. God damn, that's pretty.
No, it's a popular game, and it looks kind of fun. It's you know, but it's.
I'm sure like if you want to just do like play as a killer and just do a lot of that, it'd probably be fun for like playing on your own.
I mean, I think it'd be mainly fun to play with a group of friends. Honestly, like you get 5 people
that
together.
I definitely
and
agree on. Yes.
Like that's where I'd want to like play.
Yeah, I've watched someone like do with it with like some interesting things. But anyway, it's weird. Okay, their game, they're continuing to do more for it. Great, whatever. I don't care. You know, that's fine for them. But it is very interesting to see, like, you know, we're getting the Beholder, and it's going to do some strange things, and we'll see how it works.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because that one's probably the most non-human. Like, I mean, you know, it doesn't even have legs. Doesn't like. I mean, there's actually one that like floats already. I forget which one it is, but
plenty of them that look very monstery, at least look vaguely humanoid monster. You know, I think.
Yeah, like a Xenomorph, for example. It's like it's kind of humanoid at least.
Yes. You know, it generally speaking can be described as like humanoid. So when you go into like person mode, you're probably up on its hind legs, you know, can like, you know, crawl around or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
You're probably assumed to be kind of in that way. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the best I can say about it. It's a thing. It's a thing that exists now that will be out in some point relatively soon, I guess. Learn more on May 14th. So in 3 days, you can learn more. The proper release dates. If you actually are interested. Anyway, okay. Why don't we talk about Paizo for a little bit? Any update from Momo, so I can't really check Discord.
Nah, he said, let's see, he said he'll hop back on in 10 to 15 minutes, but he's not back yet, so.
It might just be something.
That was about 15 minutes ago.
Might just be something with the stuff.
Yeah, no, it is. He said the warning pass until the warning. He's gonna be off until the warning passes.
Okay.
And he said it could take 10 to 15 minutes. Might be taking longer.
It happens sometimes with weather. So there is a book that came out that I saw, and I thought it was a very interesting one to talk about. The PDF is not going to be available until the 22nd, but you get the print edition of the Pathfinder book, Howl of the Wild. It's now available. This is a very interesting one, as it gives us a bunch of playable ancestries. that's the awakened animals, centaurs, minotaurs, merfolk, some insectile creatures of the circus, and this amphibious Athamaris. So a lot of like very natural, or I could say like more what would be considered, in generally speaking, more savage, like animalistic kind of creatures in the humanoid range. So it's interesting to see them as more playable characters.
And awakened animals, which are not,
Yeah, I mean, you're playing an animal, actually, then. You just have that intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat. I honestly speaking, I think we really looked into one before, so it'd be nice to see if this has any major updates to like things like the Merfolk and stuff. Lore-wise.
Yeah.
And
anyway, this is basically if you're a furry, buy this book, and if you want to play Pathfinder, if you're a furry and you want to play Pathfinder 2e, buy this book.
Look, you don't have to just be a furry. I played a Merfolk before. I did it for comedy's sake, but it was wonderful.
Yeah, well.
And to be like our GM being like, why are you a merfolk in a landlocked country? Because it's like, because I can be. Where's the barrel to wet myself?
Yeah, they might not have released dinosaurs in 2e until now, because this is also covering bestiaries like animals like dinosaurs, it says.
They could have had some, but also it could be like, because this is definitely around the new monster core that's coming out with, so they could have planned for a lot more stuff updated to the new core stuff too. Because certainly speaking, this coming out now makes me definitely think they've probably got stats that are more adapted with newer stuff, Yeah, all rules optimized with remaster 2nd edition. So, yeah, it could be that they're grabbing you a bunch of the sharks and dinosaurs and other kind of monsters that they don't have to have them in the monster core, because they can have people.
Okay, they do have some dinosaurs already.
Yeah. But I mean, like, the 1st edition had a billion different dinosaurs and stuff, so it's nice to have, like, you got some extras. New archetypes, new spells, things that allow you to fight more natural weapon style in 2nd edition, which is cool. I don't know if we had a lot of that. So,
there was some. It was definitely better than Pathfinder 1e. Because I know, I should clarify. I've been reading the new book. I've obviously read the new book rules a bit. And they definitely have some stuff for the druid. They have like an archetype that's literally just natural fighter. You basically just grow claws and fight. So I know there's that kind of thing. I don't know about if they have like more rules on natural weapons. I mean, they're obviously going to need to for a book with, a bunch of animal creatures.
Yeah, I think they're just developing a lot more and throwing out some good ancestries, companions, and all that kind of stuff. So, and character options. So, it's cool. I looked at it. It seems cool. And you would get it $65 for the print edition right now, or you can wait till the May 22nd to get the PDF for books. So,
I do like the cover. It's kind of fun. It's basically lizard person holding onto a minotaur hanging off the side of a boat while a human shoots a giant bird.
Everybody loves the lizard folk. I love those games. Anyway, alright, so we do have an interesting one that I wanted to talk about because, hey, guess what? It's something that... Hi, welcome back.
Oh, you're back.
Everything okay?
Yeah, there was a tornado in the county north of me.
Oh, that's actually kind of close.
And it went into the north part of my county. I'm fine, though.
Yeah, that's good. There were some interesting topics, like, wizards gouging people at
nice.
conventions.
I'm glad I missed that while hiding in my basement.
Yeah. And then the Dead by Daylight topic, and now we just talked about Paizo's nature
furry book.
Sweet.
The furry book, yeah.
That's what I'm calling it.
Nice.
You're not wrong. It is actually the furry book.
Well, D&D needs more furries.
They have stats for like playing an awakened animal in 2E.
Yeah, that's what this adds. Awakened animals, minotaurs, like lizard people. Well, no, they already had lizard folk, but mermaids. Let's see, centaurs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, so an interesting selection of stuff there. The Magic Con in Las Vegas is they're gouging people because they can for like their wins, basically. That's an entire. So there's a Kickstarter I wanted to talk about because it's a very interesting one when I read up on it, and it's the Maskwitches of Forgotten Doggerland Redux Edition. So apparently, this was originally created by one person who at the time couldn't fund a lot of stuff, and basically did a lot of their stuff using AI art.
Oh, very cool.
And now, what they're doing is, they're doing an all-new human art edition of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can. They basically they did it originally, like they, in the Distant Science in 2022, they experimented with a AI art generator during the time period to create weird images that they used for it, basically. Because the context of AI art has become something of a discussion from 2022, they basically were like, you know what, we're gonna go ethical, basically take things away, and now they've set up to do this one here as a replacement. They're kind of seeing like, it was early AI art times, we didn't have a lot of the conversation, we didn't look at it the same way. I understand it was kind of like that experimental phase, it's something new.
It's still in an experimental stage.
But a lot of the ethic discussions have begun to talk about it, so I can understand that they wanted to be like, look, we're just not going to worry about the ethics, but I still want to like put my stuff out there.
The ethics hit hard in 2023, where people are like, oh wait, people have been stealing the art for this stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like big companies started firing their artists to use AI art, and it's not good.
And, the art they use for those AI arts have been stolen from people, and
it doesn't
big companies
look
using stolen
good
art to make crappy art, and it doesn't look good. Yep.
So, I think the person still wants to have like weird, unusual art like he had before, but they're actually just having to do it now.
I respect this.
Well, so what's cool about this is it looks like some of these are like people actually made things and then took pictures of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of cool. Like, they're like almost like staged scenes.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it's like, this is definitely not AI art, because like little like models of things and stuff. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was an
interesting way of doing art for a book.
Yeah. I think it definitely is a kind of a interesting thing. Very cool thing. That they, again, we've had discussions on the ethics and stuff here about the AI, but just the idea that someone was like, hey, I kind of just want to not worry about the ethics. I'm going to take things down. I'm going to redo things with just some crazy human stuff, and I don't have to worry about it. And I respect that for being someone that was on that early forefront of before the discussion really began. They're funded. It's got a couple more days to go.
I feel like we talked about Doggerland. I don't know why. It rings a bell.
It could have been something we talked about years ago, back before the discussion really got started of AI and stuff.
Because I don't remember us mentioning AI art in it, but I know I feel like we talked about it.
That's the thing is, it's a different period where we wouldn't have looked out for that kind of stuff too. I don't think in 2022 I would have been thinking about it as much. Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, it just rings a bell. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't. Maybe we did. Maybe I saw it somewhere else.
True. So that's an interesting one. You can check it out if you're interested in. And the art style is very unique now that they're doing it.
Agreed.
So, I feel like I've talked about this before. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm pretty sure, maybe back when it was originally on BackerKit, Yazba's Bed and Breakfast. But now, it's basically coming out, it's actually coming out until 22nd. Is getting a full release that anybody can, so you don't have to do the just BackerKit version. It's basically slice of life, fantasy, queer found family, and cutting edge game mechanics, as they describe on there. It's Bed and Breakfast.
Respect all of this.
Mm-hmm. It's played over the course of 48 chapters, each which are 1 to 2 hour scenarios, each unique and quick to learn rules. You control one of the 7 long-term residents of the B&B. or up to a cast of 50 quirky guests, each of their own ongoing storylines. So it's kind of like you each have these characters with storyline, and you role play a scenario kind of thing like that, with each its own rules. That they think that takes 15 minutes of play. So it's also like, it just feels like a little bit of a easy, you just want to do some role playing and don't want to dive into something like complex. Here's a scenario you can do and choose from this, like, either guests at this B&B or cast of characters that you get to play and knock yourself out. Seems neat. You know, the style of gameplay seems neat.
I agree. The art style is also very good.
Yeah, it's very cute art style. I'm not sure I would enjoy this. I don't know why. It's like it feels kind of a well. Anyway, that's just me though.
Simple
I just like,
is one of those things. It's very simple and it's very.
It's not that
slice of life.
Slice of life is fine. I actually think it'd be fun to play one of those at some point. But I think it's just more like the fact that it's like this pre-built little area that you're playing in that bothers me with the slice of life. It's
fair,
like
I think.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's just like, I'm like, doesn't seem very fun to me. But
I guess that's why they give you like technically 57-ish characters that you can choose from, because they're hoping, you know, like if you're doing it, you can find one that interests you. But I can see that because you're not like making a character, you're picking up a character and playing with it.
Yeah,
and, you know, certainly that's usually a little better for something like sometimes like for like a one shot or like a beginner's box where they pre-made characters. You understand that a little bit. But this is something that if you're doing all, like, 48 chapters, and you're going into, like, it's always going to be a pre-made character, I can kind of see that.
And, like, more if you like this kind of thing, I'm just like, I don't know, my initial reaction is, that doesn't interest me.
Give me more very casual and very gay-friendly RPGs, please. That's my opinion.
I'm fine with casual. I'm fine with all that. It's what you want. It's interesting.
Not everything has to be a cool epic quest where you go kill a demon.
Yes, you know, I think, you know, more like it makes me interested in more casual games like it at very least too. If we get more of them,
I definitely
more stuff like this. More stuff like this. So check it out.
There aren't enough casual games. Yeah,
very true. Check it out if you're interested. That's definitely one that it's again 22nd is when it's going to be officially released, but you can pre-order it now. I swear, either I had put it on the docket in the past at some point in time, or I missed it and I remember seeing it, but it like stands out, so I must have. Anyway, so we're getting another game in a line of games that we've gotten before. If you've played Kids on Bikes or Kids on Brooms, now we're getting Kids in Capes coming out.
Ooh, a superhero one, I assume.
Either of those two.
Kids on Bikes is very fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will have the.
It's a very like family-friendly RPG.
Yeah, it's very family-friendly. It's basically like
fun. I like the idea of that.
Kids on Bikes would be described as like adventures like a little bit of something like Stranger Things, Erie, Indiana. You know, it's a group of kids. There was a movie that was like about kids filming something, and there was an alien monster or something too. I can't remember the name of that, but I remember that. Like it's I just remembered that one. That's the example of it, where it's like, you know, strange things are happening in the town. You go check it out and go like investigate mysteries. The Kids on Brooms was like, now we're magic students.
You're at a magic school, and then there's teens in space, which is where you're in space.
Yeah, and this is sort of like, you're young superheroes, so it's taking the other system for like different directions.
It's very like 90s, because a lot of this kind of stuff originated in the late 80s, early 90s of like the kid doing magic cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's very much in fact, like, I remember, like, looking back at, like, some old, like, I watched, like, an old cartoon or something, like, a while ago, like, I saw something that reminded me of it, and it just kind of reminded me that, like, man, so many old cartoons were just, the kids were the heroes and the adults were incompetent.
Just kids doing stuff.
Yeah.
It does teach a very valuable lesson that adults are, in fact, incompetent.
Yeah,
I mean,
no one knows what they're doing, and if they tell you they do, they're lying.
Yeah.
Also, like I said, the movie is Super 8, which is a pretty good movie.
Thank you, Super 8. I remember
the
plot of that movie without the name of it.
It's a J.J. Abrams movie, I think.
Oh, you're right. I think it is.
It's like one of his only good movies.
Yeah, Super 8. It definitely, like, it's a. I think that, again, they capture a lot of that kind of, like, feeling of, like, you know, the kids doing stuff, and it is definitely something that I feel like is very family friendly, but the way it's made, I definitely feel like you don't have to be like.
No, you can have a more. You don't have to. It's called Kids on Bikes, but you don't have to be kids.
Yeah, a bunch of adults.
You can be adults.
Yeah, you can recapture the essence of youth and the fun of
the essence of the Sunday morning cartoons.
Yeah. So yeah, excited to see that. That's really cool that we're getting more of stuff like this. And it's the May 29th is when their Kickstarter is going to be.
Ooh, I will probably back it because I am a big fan of Kids on Bikes. If you want a good example of it, I believe Dimension 20 has 1 or 2 live plays of it.
So, anyway, we should talk about an interesting thing that we are getting for Achtung Cthulhu. They are tackling D-Day in a story.
Oh boy!
Yes, that's an interesting thing to be tackling because again, they are tackling World War II in general with the thing of Cthulhu stuff on it, but this is like an actual event that's going on more than like side stories on the side of the battles and stuff that are going on, which I feel like is your traditional Achtung Cthulhu. It's sort of like, I'm going and doing this to fight.
Yeah, you're part of that organization that FDR made because there was the legitimate off chance of like, man, what if the Nazis actually do find the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah.
Like, it's incredibly absurd and unlikely, but what if?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to preface this. They have said in this article that they put out here, a percentage of their profits from this are going to be donated to veterans and D-Day charities.
Very good.
So they are like, they're aware it is a thing that they're tackling that is a difficult thing, so they're keeping that in mind.
Also, the 80th anniversary of the landings this year.
The entire book will have 12 missions that'll be revolving around that. There's a set of also pre-invasion, which covers the build-up to D-Day. Some 3 pre-invasion missions, basically, of the... This goes a couple books. The second book has Dudson Adventures. 3 pre-invasion. 4 adventures that are set above and below the waves amongst Cthulhu's children. And The Darkest Day presents 5 missions set around the actual D-Day. And basically it's the idea in that one is the evil trying to find Ark of the Covenant Nazis that you're going against that are also summoning Cthulhu are trying to like thwart the landing of D-Day.
Very silly.
Yeah, I mean
it's
very pulp. It's the exact kind of thing that fits.
It's like Wolfenstein levels of pulp.
Yeah, it's like you're fighting to ensure that the mission of D-Day gets done correctly.
Yeah,
that it throws out
freshly squeezed orange juice levels of pulp.
Yeah,
very, very. I'm very pro this because 1, history major. 2, family has a very long history in the planning and execution of D-Day.
Mine specific, so I can't say a lot. I know my grandfather.
My great-grandfather was a paratrooper for the Office of Strategic Intelligence, or whatever the pre-CIA was.
Okay.
And he helped partisans a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a grandpa who was in World War II. I forget what he did, though. I think he did something with planes. I don't think he was a pilot.
It's very interesting, because he went from... He has the French Cross of War. He had that, because we never learned why, and we can't find any information. We just know he was awarded it. And then when he came home, he just dug ditches for a living. So he could find nothing else to do.
It's interesting that kind of thing you say there, because I remember, my grandfather came home from the Pacific, he was in the Navy, and he became a florist.
Oh.
You know, it's just an interesting little thing of there, like, you know, like it was just the place across the street because, you know, the land he bought and built a house on when he came back from the war. There's the forest. They just started working there.
Oh, sorry, my grandpa was in the Vietnam War, not the.
No, it's close enough.
World War II.
It's a couple decades.
Yeah, a couple decades, but still, it's a big war. But you know,
someone could argue directly caused by the outcome of World War II.
So much stuff was caused by World War II.
You're still dealing with it.
So much stuff was caused by World War One too. It's this after effect of the World Wars just trickled down the line.
I can go fight Cthulhu Nazis.
Yeah. This is the next big campaign for Achtung Cthulhu. If you're interested in it, it's going to be 2 books. Book 1's going to be all about...
I don't remember. I need to think. I forget.
Unironically kind of excited for what, like, weirdness they're going to get to when they get to the point in this big story where they cross into Germany proper.
That'll be interesting, because they have been doing a lot of, like, adventures in time, almost, you know, like going through these big missions as, like, the war goes on.
I think one of the books mentioned Alamein, which is, like, one of the most important battles of the African campaign.
Yeah. So, anyway, if you are interested in it, you can always check it out. I've got a link to their article about it. They have links in there to their pre-orders for the books. So, we talked about a little bit about how D&D is doing the 5.2 into SRD when the monster manual for the new edition comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. But Kobold Press has their own reference documents. They call the Black Flag reference document. It is a update to the 5e SRD published under the Orc license that Paizo does, but I guess it's their SRD, so to say, for their system, for Black Flag.
Yeah,
for Tales of the Valiant. I'm sorry, Tales of the Valiant.
Good. Yeah, yes, it is Tales of the Valiant, which I know very little about, besides the fact that it exists. But it's always good to have a reference document, 1, for easy to look up rules, and 2, it's a nice guide to help people figure out what are your rules so I can make things for your product.
Yeah. So, you know, Kobold Press does a pretty good job on a lot of things. It's nice to see them throwing this out here, or just, you know, hey, they're like, hey, if you want to do stuff on there, here's the information you need to know. So, cool. I don't think there's much else to say about that other than it's a neat thing Kobold Press is doing this. And one last topic for our news topics today, and this is about Dragonbane, who's done by Freely Press. And I thought this was an interesting one because Dragonbane is a old RPG that they've been doing a new version of, and similar from the 1980s. And similarly speaking, which was a Swedish game back then.
Yes, it was.
But apparently they've taken 3 of those old adventures, and they've updated them to the new modern versions and putting it out in this big campaign book called Path of Glory. So, again...
I've heard of Dragonbane before. Oh yeah, I've seen this picture before.
We've mentioned it when it was re-released in English.
Yeah.
It was not that long ago, and Free League picked it up.
Yeah. So,
okay.
It was cool that Free League was like, hey, we're getting this a new version, English version for those people that need it, of this classic Swedish, RPG. And, again, reprinting classic adventures and updating them to the modern age, especially if they're ones that were pretty big in the original game, cool, they can take a new spin on them, but keep the spirit of it alive, kind of things like that. It's been a little bit of reimagining and updating, and it's not only by them, but they also got to work with the original author, Roger.
Nice.
What's your last name? Undhagen. Didn't I think? So Roger Undhagen helped them out with it. So the 3 were made into one kind of adventure too. So I'm assuming what they did is kind of like just also make sure they kind of flew into each other a little bit better than they probably were just moving.
Yeah.
So new illustrations, all that kind of stuff, and yeah. It's standard collector's editions PDF that's going to be available in June and stuff like that. So, hey, I thought it was a cool thing, and I wanted to throw it out there. And, apparently, with celebrating it, they're also having the core set's cheaper for people. So, anticipation of this, if you, either if you're going to pre-order or wait, you get the core set and for Dragonbane for a little cheaper.
Cool.
Okay.
Ooh.
Now here's an interesting topic for a deeper discussion I thought about the other week that I thought would be an interesting one to talk about. And that is the fact that villainous doesn't always mean villain in an RPG, but it certainly means that there are characters that could either become them or be antagonistic to your players, and you have to recognize that as a tool to use sometimes. Because a lot of times, we talk about, like, your mustache-twirling villains a lot. They're your classic things, your overall enemies. When there's plenty of, like, I think making a world alive, you will have bad characters. NPCs that are kind of, like, jerks, assholes, are evil in and of themselves, but not evil to a degree that you're going to fight against them. Like, I take, for example, like, the Arconists. Certainly you're probably going to eliminate one of them, but you're not trying to overthrow this group of people that are technically Rakshasas, because they're like, hey, one of them's like, hey, I'm an evil monster, but at least I treat people relatively okay in comparison to some people around here. Can I just be, put us back to the status quo?
Yeah, so I think there's an important thing to consider here is that, like, I don't think it's... So villain, I think... So there's a difference between villain and antagonist to a degree. Villain is generally someone who's, like, evil. Antagonist is the person who's against the heroes in the story. Doesn't have to be evil. I think another thing to think about is, like, everyone kind of knows an anti-hero, what an anti-hero is, but there's also an anti-villain. People often don't know about anti-villains.
That's true.
Anti-villain, so just like an anti-hero is someone who does the right thing for the wrong reasons, an anti-villain is someone who does the wrong things for the right reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and that's important to keep in mind.
I think a good story has gray. And that's the kind of thing you have to think about, too.
Not necessarily. I think you can have a straight evil villain. I think that's fine. There are people
you absolutely can.
I agree on that. I agree on that. What I mean by, like, I think what I really mean by it is that you can have gray characters in your story that don't have to be the straight villain or straight hero, because, honestly speaking, a lot of times you don't know who your players are going to fall. Like, I'm sorry, 99% of a group of player characters in any RPG are probably not going to be straight-up heroes the way you think of them. One or two of them might be, but, like, the rest of them are there for reasons and maybe want to do the right thing, but they're maybe, like, anti-heroes, or something.
Yeah, no, that is an anti-hero. They're basically people who have their own motivations, and those motivations align with doing the right thing.
There is a very important distinction that needs to be made between the term villain. Villain specifically denotes an evil character. That is the original root of villain. An antagonist can be a villain, but it doesn't have to be. The antagonist just has to be someone who wants to stop the party from doing a thing. And that can be a good person.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it could be, like, literally an antagonist could be someone trying to stop them from going and risking their lives because they care about them.
Sometimes the party is the antagonist.
That's true.
I mean, oftentimes in some situations.
Usually.
I think it's also a thing that, like, just giving Crimson Queen is a good example. Corvos is a city that overall is lawful evil most of the time. That means there's a lot of terrible people in charge who, they're not good, but they're not, like, they might be, from best definition, technically still villainists, or villains. But they're the kind of villains that, are either hiding behind rules or law, that, they're not doing such bad things that it's like you can't get rid of all of them, kind of thing. You know, it's the thing that like there are plenty of like levels of villains too, that you can have plenty of them that are like, this person's terrible, I hate them, but they're not the person you should be worrying about sometimes too. You know, I think that's kind of the interesting thing. That's kind of why I called it villainous. Doesn't mean the villain of the story, or like your antagonist. You can run into these type of characters or use these type of characters in your games fairly successfully, not worry about it. It's just, you know, you have to also then understand that the characters that goddamn react to.
Yeah, there is a problem with using an antagonist that isn't entirely evil, and that is the off chance players can just be like, this guy's actually making some good points.
Yeah. Well, that's why anti-villains can be good to use. I mean, it depends. In fact, I saw a video one time that basically said that, like, you know, if you have a group of anti-heroes, an anti-villain is better to use. If you have a group of heroes, a villain's better to use. But I mean, that's obviously opinion, but it's still, you can have both. But
yeah,
and it wasn't saying, oh, you should. It's just saying, you know, it can be better to use this kind of thing, because if your heroes are self-motivated, and you have someone
like. I very rarely. The reason, so a lot of I do not find many villains in the D&D games I'm in actually that compelling, because I never play a hero. I always slide into the archetype of the, like, either anti-hero or just like the guy that's there who's stuck in all this shit, right? My characters truly never care about stopping the villain. It's usually, well, this is kind of in my way.
Yeah, the trope term for that is the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
they don't want to be a hero. They just are in the place where they need to be.
I'll use Crimson Throne as an example. Ivona well and truly does not care that the Queen is evil.
Yeah.
Queen is currently doing shit that is getting in her way of Ivona doing her actual goals.
Yeah, I mean, my character cares less that she's evil and more that she is basically aligning herself with, like, things that are, like, basically she's releasing she's
when you have Lightning's Sunday game where the antagonist is some old wizard dude who's a general, and my character's whole reason for wanting to kill him is, well, I was a better leader than him, and he's kind of an asshole.
Now that definitely hits a type of note there too. I think it's the thing that when you build the world around the characters, and this is me kind of pointing out, you know, we've talked kind of about villains, about antagonists, about enemies before. I'm kind of being like, you know, there is definitely that kind of gray areas you could have your characters face a lot of times, where they have to make decisions on who they kind of go with, or, you know, like what directions they go in, and you have to recognize, are your characters going to face moral decisions? Are you going to make a deal with this guy who's doing something horrible versus this guy that's doing something horrible, you know, and kind of reading the room a little bit too, you know?
Yeah. My villains I like to use, or I would like to use, but I often don't in D&D, because I know I have some of my players are very I don't want to say like left-leaning, but they're very like they're very socially progressive in terms of, hey, these are like the good things, we should help all people. I like villains that have a very good reason for why they're doing this, and the reason is often them doing these awful things leads to something good. I can't do that in D&D because I know you guys will side with that guy. So I have to, in my games, use the most comic book evil shit so you guys don't just side with the villain and kill a lot of people.
Yeah, that is definitely a risk with players, because players do like to play the anti-hero. well, the anti-hero doesn't necessarily... The anti-hero tends to align more with villains, but anyway. There's a whole thing, though, where it's just like, yeah, where I completely lost my train of thought. Where are we? Where am I? Who am I?
What year is it?
I think it's the thing that, like, again, this is one of those things that has been walked away from a lot of games, but societally, there is still, like, big concepts of good and evil in every society, and usually when someone establishes a world, they establish a baseline rule of this is bad, this is good, you know? And then when your characters are set into that world, you generally should kind of know what's bad and good, and then you kind of face against the different kind of various evils. And yes, it can go as something as simple as, like, you know, I have this that I'm fighting against, whether that's, you know, a villain or a thing, but I also have a lot of times where, like, you know, you have to deal with a lot of stuff in the middle between that, and that could be things that are like, you know, this horrible thing here that could be a friend or could be a foe, and you have to kind of find out what it's going to be, or something like that can definitely occur very often in a game. And again, yes, Crimson Queen is a very good example of that, but also I feel like another good example of dealing in gray areas, where certainly, like, my character's very neutral and as of just, like, let's go along with it kind of in a lot of ways, so it didn't matter to me. But in your game, Momo, where, you know, we were fighting this revolution against these people, and we're like, who can we recruit? Well, there's, like, these horrible people here, or these horrible people here, or these probably not horrible people, but everybody calls them horrible people, so we don't actually know that they're not horrible people.
Yeah, your choices were Dream Wizards, which I don't think anyone wanted to deal with. They didn't want no one wanted further context to that. I just said the term Dream Wizards, and I was like, no.
I didn't care. I don't know why everybody hated the Dream Wizards.
You ended up recruiting, basically, you never found this out because you never really talked to them.
Yeah.
They are a group that is effectively one led by one of the caretakers of those two twins when they were like children before the ghost souls got put into their bodies.
Ooh.
It was a bunch of basically the castle servants who fled to try and put a stop to all this. And then the clergy, who are like the most neutral group. They're just like, it's just the church.
Yeah. In fact, I kind of... I'll let you respond to that, and then I'll say something. No? Okay.
Oh, I was gonna, like, that is just basically what we kind of chose.
It's like, I want to give an example.
We were joining very morally ambiguous people, and probably the nicest people we just didn't want to deal with. And I again, my character, in that kind of point in time where I'm like, I wouldn't care either way as long as we get the job done.
The group you sided with actively gave you like a lot of weapons and explosives to go and actually like kill a decent amount of people with.
Yeah.
To forward their plot to dealing with the problem.
Yeah, I want to say that actually the Arconas are a good example of an anti-hero and an anti-villain. Because Melia Arcona is...
The sister.
The lady.
Yeah, the lady, is an anti-hero. She's helping you, but it's because she wants to gain power and become her own like thing. So she's actively helping you to basically achieve a good goal, but she's doing it for her own reasons. So that's an anti-hero. Whereas Gloria is actually he's going against the party, and he's trying to take control, and his goal is to ultimate goal was to overthrow the queen and take control, which is actually a good thing in the moment, but it's for the wrong reasons. It's for himself.
Yes.
Wait. Right thing for wrong... Sorry, the other one was... What was it? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, a good goal, but going about it the wrong way. Yeah, so he's the anti-hero, anti-villain. Yeah. So he's doing bad things to try and achieve something that would ultimately be beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's also still for himself, but yeah.
And again, it's a very good example of a system where things are very kind of not great anyway. I think that's one of those things. It's like, I both enjoy and kind of hate using Corvosa in comparison to lots of other places like Varesia and stuff like that, because it's a city that I feel like is very weirdly gray, but also bad. There's so much
there's a lot of just evil. That's the thing. That's the thing is that evil is weird, especially because it's not as clear especially in something like Corvosa. It's they're lawful evil, but they're trying to do things through the law that are kind of good, but they're still evil because they're lawful evil. It's whatever.
Well, I think
it's that Corvosa is interesting, or I guess Varesia is interesting in this way, because if you actually look at the cities, like the major cities in Corvosa, there is, I believe, for the most part, a good city, a neutral city, and an evil city. Because Corvosa is the original setting for Pathfinder, that's where the first adventure paths were written.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I think it would be... There's also, a little bit of that, chaotic city, too. Because I would say,
the chaotic city is the...
I mean, Karamaga sounds
Karamaga, which is ruled by literal anarchy.
Yeah, ruled by... But I'm that's the Karamaga, which is your, full chaos. And you got Riddleport, which is kind of that neutral city. Magnemar, which is a really nice place. Like Corvosa, which is, evil place. So it's got it does have a very alignment-y way of thinking, I guess, which is kind of a weird statement, but yeah.
It's because original Pathfinder had very strong things with alignments, where it's you were actually in alignment, and you could cast spells based on your alignment, and you took damage based on your alignment.
In Pathfinder, and this is genuinely, I think, a very interesting thing. In Pathfinder, everything has an alignment. Cities, objects, people. Everything is alignment based. That's good for world building because alignment helps you figure out governments. Bad for gameplay because being locked to alignment removes choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a thing that also, when we look at that a lot of stuff, yes, it's good to walk away from the way that we have alignment setting things in that is I do feel it reflects more on the concepts of there's a lot of gray areas and stuff that someone could do something very awful, and it might not be in their nature to continue to do something awful. It might be just they felt like that was the decision at the time, and they might do something good another time. And yes, it's alignment is a very cut and dry sort of stuff like that. We're describing Corvosa rather as it's a lawful evil city. Well, no, it's a city full of bureaucrats, corruption, and, probably slightly oppressive laws. If I say it that way, yeah, that would describe lawful evil, but it gives you a better idea of a place that's like that, too. And I think that, that helps the ideas that we're talking about, getting back to the original topic of when you're in an area that has these more... Or people that you're dealing with that are more of this kind of ambiguity where you could definitely think of them as more evil, but it really is reflecting the area that's there. That's when it becomes that, your characters have to make decisions around the morality of their own self and the gray of that. And it's definitely something that I think using is interesting. And you shouldn't be afraid to use, too. It's certainly, when I talk about, the game that we're in Corvosa, a lot of those, decisions and morality decisions, I don't think come up really the same way as some of the other ones. Do they really? I think it's sort of
I feel like Crimson Throne is the perfect adventure path to play a neutral character in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many conflicting forces, and you have to balance all of them.
Because you have to... If you were a good character, you'd want to ideally replace a lot of the systems in the city with better systems, which means you would be antagonistic to every group.
Yeah.
But as a neutral character, you can pick and choose who you want to be aligned with. Because there truly is no one good in Korvosa. Everyone kind of sucks in a unique way.
Yeah.
I mean, at most, you can say there are definitely more people that are more neutralized. And there, I can say, like, Lightning's good character, and their church that they're behind is actually, like, a probably good force.
It is a force of good, but it's a very small group.
Yeah. And, like,
the way I've been looking at it in my head, and the way I've been thinking about it, I think it's actually very funny that the game gives you a deck of cards. You are kind of stacking the deck for factions you're helping and siding with.
Yeah.
Like, the path we've taken, we've kind of sided with a lot of factions.
Yeah, well, we've kind of sided with 3.
We've sided with the guards, which is the default.
Yeah.
We are still technically aligned to that one crime lord.
Yeah.
We're aligned to the Fister. And all of them are not good people.
The guards are probably like the more
the guards are very neutral.
They're just like,
yeah.
Can we get some law and order in this place?
Yes. We're also aligned to the Church of Abadar and the Phrasman Church and whatever
Sarenrae
churches. Sarenrae, yeah.
Which those are very different religions too. Also,
yeah,
like,
and we're somehow aligned with all of them to a degree.
Again, like Abadar is very much controlled. Like it's very, so they would prefer order over everything. It's one of the things that like you can definitely see like and like it hasn't really come up too much in discussion. It really won't to a degree, but like in the city with everything that's going on, the Abadar Church is like, we don't really like what's going on, but it's maintaining order and we're not having riots anymore, so we're willing to just gotta go along with it, kind of thing, Because Abadar is like, they don't like the riots, they don't like the plagues and stuff like that. So sort of like they're willing to look away from like, the terrible tyranny of your evil queen as long as order is maintained. While, like, Pharasma is more like, they're neutral, but also, like, technically speaking. Like, I hinted at it. The Church of Pharasma is against this shit, They're true neutral, but they're also like, this is taking two things, like, too far for even us. But that's also, like, it deals with some of the internal philosophies in there, too. And then certain Sarenrae is like, fuck this shit, that's kind of oppression, fix it, So it's this interesting juxtaposition between the ideas of this, which reflects characters in a lot of ways, of what you're willing to deal with characters of, morality in different ways. It becomes down to their philosophies in general, but also the individuals within that philosophy and how they look at it when it comes to their leaders and stuff like that. And, it's again the same thing with characters, is the various NPCs you're presenting to them, whether they are, good heroes, villains, in nature, and they're antagonists or not, you have to reflect upon them in interesting ways, because it deals with the question again. I think it's something that like all D&D parties deal with in a way, even if they don't deal with it. Everybody's got morality,
Yes.
Every team's got a morality. Every character's got a morality. It might not be discussed very heavily, but it's there, and I think that's the important thing, that like it's the dealing with your characters with own morality. And definitely speaking, DMs have to know what generally understand their characters' morality to a degree, to understand what they're going to see as, are they going to see these as antagonists? Are they going to see as possible allies? Are they going to see them as heroes or villains and stuff like that, all that kind of level of things as we're kind of discussing here, and how your characters are going to react to them is going to depend on the morale.
I think it's important for the GM to also paint them in the light. These are potential allies. These guys you're not going to be aligned with. Yeah. These guys are the enemy. So I think it's also important not just to be like, oh, what if the players like want to side with this guy? I mean, it's important to consider, but I think if you want them to be against someone and they are not, I think the GM also might have done something wrong there, you know?
True.
So
you do want to present that case of like, is this someone I would want to do ally with, or someone that's not? If you want to say like, if you are okay with your players allying with them, then present them in such a way, you know? Or, you know, maybe you can definitely...
Okay. I was just about to say, and if you don't want them, then when they walk down the street, just have them kick a puppy.
Even they still might align with them. I think it's the thing of, like, you have to present the case of, this is a person that you can either be friends or foe with. It's maybe not going to affect the overall story, but maybe it affects story beats along the path. You know, this person here could be a very terrible person, but could help you defeat your antagonist. Or this person here could be the greatest hero and help you defeat your antagonist, or overcome your obstacle that's the end obstacle of the adventure. You know, and then presenting that as a thing that could help, and presenting what it could do to help your characters, will have them make those decisions that are up to their morality. I guess it's kind of an interesting thing to think about, you know, that you could present, you know, I did not sugarcoat. The Arconists tend to be pretty horrible people, but they also tend to treat, you know, the area they're in, Old Corvosa, relatively fine. Yeah, they ignore a lot of the criminal elements there, basically, but, you know,
I mean, the fact that they have a smuggling port in their basement just shows they probably cooperate with a lot of the criminal elements.
Hey, I mean, there's literally a crime tax.
Yeah, there is, I know.
Yeah, they just take advantage of that crime tax heavily. They're like, crime tax? Don't mind if we do.
Honestly, it's kind of just like, in a spectrum of an evil city, where do they land in the spectrum? Kind of in the middle. Not super bad, but not super great.
Yeah.
Everyone's evil here, but I'd consider them more medium evil rather than very
Hey, they're evil, but they're also lawful.
Yeah. Again, I think
that.
I think everyone is lawful evil. It's more, again, a spectrum of how lawful evil.
Again,
I'd say they are lawful before evil.
Yeah. Yes.
Most of your nobility... most of your nobility in this city certainly is like, you know, bribery? Sounds great. Stuff for my own wealth? Sounds great. You know, that kind of stuff a lot of times. Like, I feel like you met, like, and it's presented that way, though, like, one, I'd call it more lawful, neutral, noble family, the people that you were dealing with. They're, like, not really great people, but they're not really awful people.
Actually, it's kind of funny. The party, when I originally made Avona, the party was originally going to have a more evil-aligned voice, because I am playing a necromancer, and then someone came up with a good-aligned cleric. And I had to change things, because that means they'd have to kill me by mechanics. Because of alignment, or Lightning's character loses cleric levels. That's how alignment works in Pathfinder.
Yeah, I mean, my character is chaotic neutral, and I play her as such. She just, she does what she thinks is right, but she doesn't have a very clear moral compass, is basically how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing of, like, you, generally speaking, just keep to, like, the basic rules of where you're from kind of thing, too. And I think most of you, I feel like your team tends to skew very neutral, I think. Because I don't sense actually a lot of, like, really true chaotic nature, but I also don't feel like, you know, you're necessarily, like, overly lawful a lot of times. You're just kind of like, well, what's appropriate now? And, you know, the individuals skew a little bit more, but as a group, you just kind of end for that, like, very, very neutral group.
Yeah, something I think people forget about Ada is she is a child. She is 16 years old.
Yeah,
like that to ever come up. I don't believe our ages have ever come up.
Well, no, that's just something to think about. Like when the way I play her, like she is kind of insecure because she doesn't know.
Like last session, I learned Joe's character is 18.
Yeah, Joe's character is pretty young too.
Joe's character is 18 years old.
I think they also think of, like, to reflect on Joe's character a little bit. Joe's character is like an 18-year-old who acts like they're, like in their late 20s because he's seen some shit. He's the 18-year-old that's been through a lot of traumatic things for like the last 6 years and has to adapt to it, and grow up fast. That's Joe's character, which is something to be like, wow, he's still pretty goddamn young, but yeah, he's also like just he's seen some shit,
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic that, a lot of teams go through figuring out what their kind of team morality is and how you're going to act with things. And it's just, you don't need alignment to build stories that deal with that. I think it's also a good thing, too. Like, yeah. Pathfinder is a very alignment-based system, but I could remove that and present a lot of these moral cases the same way. And I feel like that's a good thing that they're doing in 2nd edition, that it's sort of like, yeah, it's this is good or bad in the eyes of the people around you. It doesn't need to be like something that's like stated in a way. So this discussion has revolved around a lot of things for the original topic, but it's been a good one, I think, to talk about.
Well, I feel like we've been talking about talking about alignment when talking about villains is totally understandable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like we're expanding on like the topic, but we're still like, it sounds like it's all over the place, but it's all related to the
I'll say one last fun thing that's mildly side tangenty. Did you know there's a type of game where your players aren't the protagonist? Because the protagonist is just the person who drives the plot forward. And if they're following a villain's trail, they're not the protagonist because the villain's driving the plot forward.
It's true.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel like players rarely drive the plot forward.
No, they don't. They usually get sidetracked. Tantus will take about 30 minutes every session to talk nonsense to 3-person.
What did I do this time?
I don't know. I have to in my prep. I have to allot your character.
Oh,
I have to plan my sessions around the fact that you may or may not that session spend 20 minutes rambling about something as a 3-person.
What can I talk about that's very dry related today? I guess that sort of shows up. I'm not gonna lie, you're not technically wrong.
Yeah, no, there's a whole thing. There's a whole thing where I've been watching just people talk about their opinions on how to run D&D lately. And another one is just like, it was basically like, yeah, no, if you want to drive your players forward, give them something, then take it away, and then they'll follow you.
I just use the carrot on the stick technique.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
I'm like the treat player.
Oh,
here's the shiny thing. It's in the dungeon. Go get it.
Yep.
Ooh, shiny.
That's what you have to do.
Everybody loves a good shiny. Not gonna lie.
You gotta bribe your players with promise of reward.
I gotta do that now because I'm not gonna lie. I don't think there's we were talking magic items and I was like, there's fucking no treasures anywhere in this goddamn game. And I'm gonna give you stuff and figure out where to put stuff now.
You gotta plant that shit. Pathfinder Adventure Paths do not like to give you magic items.
Or the system's like, hey, you technically need a level of these magic items for the system to work, and I'm like, damn it, just.
Yeah. Part of me is just like, the book should say, oh, we give out these items for these types of characters. You should have this type of party. If you don't, change these items.
It's because technically that number on character advancement isn't correct. You don't need that amount of gold to be functional.
It's true, you don't.
you don't.
It's more of a suggestion, and the APs don't follow it.
It's one of those things that, like, when you really look at those numbers for advancement for that, for this part of the kind of side discussion, it's both kind of helpful and hindering. By what I mean is, it's helpful in the fact that technically having that helps balance out some of the wiggle in encounters. If you have this amount of money, you're not guaranteed necessarily like a victory, but it alleviates wiggle room when it comes to CR.
There's so much, but like I this part of me really just hates 1d20 systems because they're just so flip-floppy.
Yeah, and like
it's like, I rolled 4 1s this encounter. We're all dead.
Oh, and what like you're saying is like
4
being
20s.
Like,
this is a trivial encounter.
Being certain classes, it doesn't affect it as much. Where I'm going to tell you, unfortunately, like melee type classes heavily rely on magic items to balance out a lot of abilities that just spellcasters get. It's one of those things. Yeah, they get some cool abilities. They get a lot of feats and stuff too. But there tends to be some things that when you fight against, it's sort of like, well, the magic item probably would have helped. If I'm up in the front, some AC would be helpful. Revive spells? No, then I really need some kind of magic armor.
What's AC? I'm a wizard.
Yeah. What's this thing I'm fighting? Oh, hey, you need some kind of magic weapon to like actually hurt it. Stuff like that happens.
Yeah, the thing with Pathfinder and why that the gold number doesn't matter, there's a lot of spells that just give you that turn your item temporarily into a magic item.
Yeah, I do want to say, Pathfinder never actually says, this is what gold you should have at this level. What it says is, if you are starting at a higher level, your players should be given this much gold to spend on equipment.
Yeah,
it's not actually...
5e has that as well, but in vaguer terms.
Yeah, so it's kind of like this thing where it's like, it never says this is what you need. It says this is about what you should have.
This is about where a player of this level should be in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I just try to use it as like this is where I should kind of aim to have my characters be.
It's not a bad baseline.
Yeah.
Just a lot of APs don't give enough to ever get to that amount.
And so that's why I'm kind of looking at. I want to get you the baseline because then I don't have to worry about like, you're fighting this random thing that like the AP mentions that I didn't check all the stats for. You're not.
I mean, a good way to do that is just to like slot a +3 weapon somewhere, or like a +2 belt, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to think about doing. Actually, I was gonna like put the
slot item upgrades in places rather than just full new items.
That's a good way of thinking about it. Like, look at our sheets, look at what items we have, and just slot, oh, look, here's a better version of that thing.
That kind of stuff does exist in some AVs, too. But it's sort of like, in this one, they just... most of your enemies either have specific, like, types of gear, or you just don't fight a lot of enemies that actually have gear, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's kind of not helpful.
Just be that way,
Mm-hmm. Why don't we talk about our weeks in tabletops? We kind of talked about it a little bit, kind of move on there to that topic. We can finish up our deeper discussion. So hey, you don't have to rely on alignment, but morality is a thing that is a very useful tool to think about, especially for character choices, because it can also drive a lot of role playing. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind the morality of your more villainous and possibly antagonist characters, even non-antagonist.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I'd say it's less about their alignment and more about their motivations,
Yeah, motivations. The interesting motivations of the people around the characters. So, we had May the 4th be with Star Trek. You two were in there. Hey!
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, we had that.
Yeah, that was last Saturday.
That was.
How'd you enjoy that one?
I had fun until I started getting sleepy towards the last hour. And then I was like kind of slowly mentally collapsing.
Yeah, I had a super long day that day. I did, that day ended with 9 hours of streaming.
That'll do it.
So I mean, yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like it was very much just Joe was the main character, but oh well, it was fun.
Well, he was the most talkative, I think, because he was the most like alive at that
The
point.
command character tends to do that, or the one with the who has been established to have the most command.
Yeah, and I mean it was not necessarily terrible or bad. I felt like it was there. Certainly, he was definitely a little bit more of the vocal one. But I tried my best. I hope it definitely reflected that I tried to have some roles for everyone. And I thought of some places where possibly people could think of like roles. So I hope, like, because that's the thing that we were talking about beforehand. Like, hey, there's plenty of times we've had it that characters have abilities that we don't use. So it's like, yeah. Here, one of you can do some shuttles. Here's some shuttle stuff. That kind of thing I was thinking of.
Yep. No, and it's good.
Here's some medical stuff.
Fine.
I think that I'm honestly kind of looking forward to the new book coming out because I feel like it'll make. Honestly, I'm just hoping they fix combat because I'd like to actually maybe do a small combat at one point because I know you hate doing it because it's terrible.
It's not really combat in like.
There are
some people fire a phaser and that's kind of it.
Yeah, but I can probably add some kind of stuff like that into places where you're like, let's fire a phaser at it. Energy pattern Omega will be able to like do this thing with what you're working with.
No, there's lots of interesting things you can do with combat type situations in that like my character actually I didn't make him he was a pilot, but he also had like the ability to dodge attacks and stuff. Like that's actually. So, like, if we were shot at, I know we probably weren't going to be because you've never done that in a Star Trek game, but...
Again, the thing is, like, I keep running one-shots, and I'm like, I don't have time for it!
Yeah, you'd have to make it quick, and there's ways to do it. It would basically just be, like, one enemy or like, an automated turret or something that we have to figure out how to shut down. That kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think I've considered those before, but just haven't had an opportunity to put one in that feels good to the story. As of
yeah, that's fair.
But, I hope people enjoyed it. I feel like we're getting smoother and smoother. I'm getting smoother at running these.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
The big problem is I have to relearn the system every time.
I do too, honestly speaking. It's sort of like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. It is getting easier to remember after all these years, but certainly there's still that like level of like, well, what the hell am I doing? How is this like? Oh yeah, there's this thing I have to remember. Oh yeah, like, because I gotta be honest, before we started, I only remembered momentum. I forgot fuck about threat until, like, I looked at the sheet, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's right, I have threat!
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Did anybody do anything on Sunday?
Lightning's game where we learned a bunch of stuff and did some downtime, and we're gonna go beat up a wizard and steal a ship.
Cool.
He's an asshole. He's making flesh abominations. That's not cool.
Man,
we might be doing it for like a morally good reason.
I'm having flashbacks to other flesh abominations of wizards.
There have been a surprising amount of both flesh abominations and caves made of flesh in these campaigns.
I was thinking of, flesh abominations that are technically combinations of multiple creatures.
Well, see, these guys I don't think enjoy being what they are, so I think they kind of had no say in becoming it, and they might, in fact, hate it.
That's... feel bad.
You also did kill, like, 4 dudes. They deserved it. And then they exploded, I guess.
Well,
it was kind of like just a chill session where we learned stuff.
It was good sometimes.
We also stole some rich guy's house. So he abandoned it.
Your house now. Free house. We had a game on Monday.
Did have a Monday game.
It was River's game.
We went into the sewers again.
We had more sewer adventures where we fought were-rats?
Fought were-rats.
Yeah, and something else was going on there, but I was a little out of it towards the end.
The were-rats were like feral.
Yeah, they were feral. We managed to capture at least one.
Well, we captured 2, and then my character deemed it unnecessary to have 2, so I threw 1 into a moonbeam.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
Didn't actually need to do
We also still technically have 2.
Yeah.
Because we found a wounded one who's just on the floor crying.
Yeah.
Also, there's 2 vampire coffins that I think are going to get moonbeamed.
Yeah, one of them feels like it's got a vampire in it.
I mean, if the coffins survive, I'm going to destroy it so that vampire doesn't have a place to go rest anymore and we can go kill him.
Yeah.
Well, no, that guy was alive because the river mentioned he was like moving and talking.
I also detected like undead in one of those things.
There's
so
definitely a vampire in one of those coffins.
Yeah, so I'm like, there's a vampire in one of these things. We should just deal with that. Because like I said, it's the interesting thing as the damn bloody pacifist paladin. The one thing I can murder is undead. I'm like, you know what? I'm morally obligated to murder the shit out of this undead.
I don't know. This world seems like weirdly cool with undead. The country we're in is like undead are fine, but you can't cast resurrection magic. That's fucked up.
It's a thing that like you probably could explain to my character, but I wouldn't understand. I'm goddamn favorite, so I'm like, undead bad, vampire bad. It's just, I'm like, I would love to save you. I don't think it's possible, so I'm gonna kill you and then hope your soul finds some rest.
Cure for vampirism.
Yeah. So I'm like,
the cure is a stake to the heart.
Yeah. Sorry, vampire. I'm gonna kill you.
Deserve it.
We had a Tuesday.
I had a Tuesday game. You guys went inside of a book and did more book things.
We did, and I we only did 2 people's book things, and then we ended it, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I thought we were gonna do more people's book
I was gonna do more, and then I was like, man, if I do every character before I drop the reveal that the book is lying to you, it's gonna be like fucking 5 sessions.
I'm okay with that because it's just like, okay, it's actually lying.
It's gonna be 5 whole ass sessions of me of just me talking.
And it was having like
it was a cool idea, and it was a cool idea and concept. I'm like, I'm gonna just stop this.
Yeah.
Anyways, you learn that the book's true reason for existing is to imprison Celestials.
Yeah.
And you rescued a Solaire, which is a CR like 23 creature that could easily kill all of you.
Yeah.
He's on your side.
Yeah, and I've got to like now go talk to my god about like, is this a good? I was gonna commune. I'll be like, is this a good idea?
Yeah, I feel like next session is gonna be you're gonna commune with your god, and then there's gonna be a long talk about stuff with this celestial lady.
Yeah.
Who may or may not be violating some kind of divine compact by setting foot on a mortal world.
It's fine. We'll find a way to get them home. Probably.
I mean, she can just teleport.
Nah.
That's just Solaire could just teleport.
Well, that's just how the book. She could probably go home. Hey, probably if you wanted, you could go home.
No, she might stick around and help you kill the worm cult.
Yeah, that's probably.
They are the ones that imprisoned her.
Yeah, you know that. I'm okay with getting some.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are very. I feel like you guys are very anti-worm.
I was kind of like, okay, sure, why not? But they do seem kind of like, you know.
They only want to assimilate you into their worm hive mind.
Yeah, that just feels a little bit too like. I'm like, I'm not really a fan of this. I guess I'm against them. Everybody else was against them at first, and I was like...
They did also throw... the worm mage did also throw worms into your eyes.
That was kind of unpleasant and rude. Not gonna lie. You guys are unpleasant and rude, so I'm just gonna be like, man, just, no. Bad worm people.
Oh.
Then we had Wednesday's game.
Did have Wednesday's game where I ducked out at the last hour because I had to sleep.
Yeah. And I definitely have taken a step back, and we're gonna do things a little differently. I gotta be honest, like I think I talked about this, and I'll talk about it here a little bit now. But like the fact is, I was not expecting to get to this point in time for at least a week or two.
Yeah, we kind of just blitzed through that book entirely.
I was expecting a combat, and you could have gone and fought the brother of the Arconas right then and there, but it wasn't a bad idea to support rescuing the two people you had and not going into a fight right away.
Honestly, if the sister would have helped us, we probably could have dealt with him in that session, because we had most of our stuff.
She also said she didn't want her brother to die.
Yeah, because she didn't want to kill her brother.
She basically wants to get rid of him in a fun thing, but doesn't really want him dead. I mean, it's still like, yes, she's a Rakshasa, but they still are family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, it's like, okay, so we don't want to kill him. We can go back and kill the Sphinx. That doesn't feel like it's really worth it, because we got 2 wounded people.
But even, like, still, combat might be the way to stop him. It's just not killing him, which is not necessarily easy, but again, it's like, like trade-off of what you're figuring out, what you can do about that to kind of oust him successfully. But it's a thing that, like, I think making it a little bit more complex of an issue is an interesting idea, especially because there is, like, definitely the air of... It's not a very complex air, but there is the air of you will be starting a revolution in this chapter at some point in time, or like at least involved in it. So, like, getting the Arconas on your side by removing the brother, but also, like, you do realize that she probably wouldn't be good to out them as Rakshasa, because, like, she's more like... She's definitely more the, like, morally, like, let's keep the status quo. Yeah, I'm a Rakshasa. Please, can we just keep the status quo?
The status quo kind of sucks, but it's a lot of effort to kill 2 Rakshasa. It's a lot of effort to deal with 2 of them.
There's technically a lot of them.
I don't want to do that.
Lesser minions,
I'd rather only have to deal with one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, I definitely would have been down for going and fighting the Sphinx, but, like... everyone else
I was not expecting the Sphinx to just teleport away.
I mean, I kind of
figured I was ready to fight that bitch.
But I totally would have gone and fought her.
Again, it was definitely the circumstance of you are at a place she can't travel to.
Also, I broke her dungeon.
You broke her dungeon. You're at a place that she can't travel to, so it's sort of like, I can't get to you.
I'm actually
we outsmarted her.
Could she go underneath if we fought her in the underneath area?
No.
We outsmarted her.
She can only go into the rotating dungeon itself.
Yes, that's where she was settled to.
It's very funny that we accidentally just kind of like picked the pacifist route.
Yeah.
Of just avoiding her altogether.
The other one that works with her, the Torturer, was basically the one that could travel into other areas if mates was needed. Or they could call upon, hey, like, the people in charge of this place to deal with stuff, too.
So the fact that we broke the thing means she can't even fix it.
Well,
Someone
other people can come back and fix it, yes.
I'm just saying she herself can't fix it. She needs to ask someone for help.
Technically, those giant, like, mammoths are actually bonded to the entire Arconis family. So, like, one of them can just go in there and be like, hey, start working.
Yeah.
Things like that. That was what we were talking about, like, control is, like, they were created in such a way.
And then I found out it didn't matter because it only matters for smart undead.
Yeah, they're dumb undead. They're just big old skeletons with unique stats.
Yeah. I definitely like the better... definitely... if you want to put some thought into character stuff, because I know we'll probably swing by. I mean, it's up to you. If you don't want to put effort into character stuff, then we just won't.
I'm going to say here right now, because like I'm just gonna keep it simple. I can explain what I've done because we are going to redo all those other things that I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not all of them, but a bunch of them. But I can tell you now, just because you already know about them and the order I'm going to do. You're going to talk to Sun Shaman. He's going to be like, okay, cool. Here's what happened. The place has been sealed away by ancient magics that the Moon Tribe watches over, that guy, the Truth Seeker that he talked about, is the keeper of that, and he will reveal, there were 2 halves of the key, one of them is still in a certain location, the other is embedded in Beta's chest, which you can get out. Hey, that adamantine piece is part of the key.
I feel like you shouldn't have said that part.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said that part.
He's gonna reveal that, you know. It's
still okay. I mean,
that's kind of funny.
I'm just saying. Yeah, but still, you could.
But I could have kept that secret, but it's not really that major of a secret because it's a rewrite of some things, you know. Like
I still think it should have been revealed in character.
Yeah, it's fine. Just forget about it.
Well, it's the entire thing that you
just suppress the memory.
There's a bunch of stuff, and I just basically was able to easily rewrite things, like to be like, hey, you know,
that's fun.
Go talk to that guy. Go, because even if none of us no people were part of the Shuanti, it could have been that easy of like, oh, you earn the trust of the Shan Shan. He reveals to you, hey, here's the information I know, but I also know that like this person, you know, of this tribe keeps the item because then not one tribe can be attacked for the information, kind of thing. They keep the seal away, you know, of the you know that we also have kept.
Yeah, I say we hold off and reveal more of this later because
there
I think
is
it's fun
more details to it that I have.
I'll need to ask you some questions once the stream is over.
Yeah,
so I sent you a message the other day about stuff.
Yes, which was something that we can talk about that, you know, was a very interesting thing that I've kind of thought about using very easily. But so kind of a little bit of rewrite, but I think it should be fine. Just again, it's
so something I heard someone like give a whole spiel about how, again, I've been watching a lot of people give opinions on stuff lately for D&D, about how realistically, if you don't rewrite a chunk of stuff from modules, you're not a good DM. So
the problem with modules,
they're meant to be rewritten.
And this is side tangent. The problem with modules, specifically Pathfinder modules, is they're written in such a way that they have a canonical path they want you to follow. Because if you ever look at an adventure path in its art, it contains the iconic characters for that area who canonically do that story. And the AP wants you to follow that canonical story with no deviation.
I think the thing is, too, and I'm going to say this about it, as someone that has looked at adventures since goddamn AD&D, someone of that opinion is actually kind of misinformed a lot of ways. Because I'm sorry, if you are thinking that way, just write your own story.
Yeah, don't use an AP if you're going to write a big story.
I'm not going to say rewriting some stuff isn't. Well, yeah. What I mean, like what the person said, I think is like there is a level of misunderstanding the nature of it. I think, and I will agree that like yes, you should do some stuff to customize a adventure path or like tweak things to your characters to make it a little bit of your own. But the level of like actually rewriting, I think, is something that you have to understand is like sometimes you can't do a lot of rewriting. I'm sorry, like
they didn't say. I may have misspoke because I said that you should rewrite, but no, they didn't say rewrite. They said you should definitely change things to tailor them more to your players, their motivations, and their like interests and their backstories and stuff, because they're generic. The whole point of a thing is that it's generic, so you're gonna have to retool things to make them specific to your characters and motivate your characters into doing what you want.
Okay, yeah. So like. And again, that does fit it to a decent degree, I think, too. But it's also like that can also be very difficult, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of aspects of these adventures that are hard to like add into characters. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've slowly been finding ways to kind of include Avona in little things here and there, with, like the vampires and stuff like that, and some of the backstory there. That's beyond just the character does some stuff outside the story that's related to the backstory.
Yeah.
The option of the Shuanti stuff is a pretty big one here to your characters, for you and Joe, because you are Shuanti. But that's just we happen to be this and we happen to go here kind of thing. It's not something I really had to do a lot for. It is like, for Tavel and for Zardris, beyond that, I do not know off the top of my head places where I can do stuff with their characters that would be easily added into the story. Certainly, like, I feel like it's also a thing of like Tavel.
Yeah, Tavel.
Well, early on in the session, I could probably do something great with Tavel. Later on in the session, when Linz is usually a little more out of it,
I feel like Tavel's Story can come and play when we actually make it back to the city.
I feel like Tavel. Yeah, I feel like Tavel's definitely something about either like maybe he could reinstate.
Tavel was a guard.
Yeah, I feel like he wasn't a guard. He was trying to join the Sable Company. Yeah, so he could like reinstate the Sable Company. He could have a hand in that, or because this thing, I feel like we should have like. I mean, the fact that the Sable Company being disbanded actually kind of does a whole section of the plot. I feel like we could have added something in for that. But
I think getting into book like 6, where there is more of the revolution, that will actually be an option. Of like, oh, you can recruit the old Sable Company members and stuff like that.
I feel like Sardis came in as an already developed character.
Yeah, and again, like it was nice for Lightning to step in, but then it does make it kind of like and is involved in this. But there's like steps.
If Lightning was not in this game, you would have an actual evil person in your party.
I'm not sure Ada would care.
You would have someone just making undead like crazy.
Yeah.
What you're saying is we should kill the cleric to reach
No, because the cleric is like the most useful member of the party.
I disagree. I feel like, just fireballed me at least once. and contemplated it a second time.
I mean, if Ivana was there, Ivana would have probably fireballed you. That's the risk you run when you're up in the face of like 20 enemies.
Fireball is the
Don't be a tiny cat in the facing a group of 20 dudes.
The tiny cat too. Remember.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't. Funny enough, like, yeah, that would have. I don't think. Did I remember to add my? Yes, I did. I did add my dex. That's probably why I saved. Funny enough, though, that will actually be more powerful now. Like, in some ways, the tiny creatures will be more powerful because I can get a stupid AC and stupid chance to hit with it.
Mm-hmm. Fear the might of tiny animals.
Without a significant reduction in damage.
I love wild shaping. All I can remember is having a GM in a game have an aneurysm because we were high-level characters and our one person used the group shape change power and was like, I'm going to change this all. We were like trying to infiltrate and he was like, I'm going to change this into tiny animals. So it's like, okay, what do you change this to? Lemurs, because we have thumbs. It was just like, what the fuck were we doing at that game? And it's just stuff like that I think I like wild shaping. It's like it's silly. It's a silly thing. It's a silly thing.
Yep. So I'm curious what will happen because I've seen it. See, now I'm kind of curious about the solution. You're gonna have to think of a solution because in theory, my character has been drawing all the power from her chest items. So I'm curious as to where that's gonna. So there's more to it than that, but definitely gonna have to think of a solution for that.
Well, I don't kind of know what it is.
That's fine. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
It'll be interesting. I'll say. I'm very comfortable about what kind of is going to happen. We got to pull things out there.
Anyway.
It'll be interesting. There's a lot more to it, but like, yes. But
no, also, I know. I know there's more to it, but I'm just like, man. I'm curious now. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I made one thing on Thursday.
I did not. I started my new job on Thursday.
Ooh, that's true. How about yesterday?
I did nothing yesterday.
Nope.
I did all the normal stuff. Nothing new.
I've been super tired all week.
It has been a week. Definitely. But hey, we're done the week. Yeah, woo! Right, I guess we'll leave it there. That's a pretty good spot to leave it. We've gone through our topics, we had a nice deeper discussion, and we've kind of gone through a bunch of stuff. So, thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, of course, to Worm and Momo. I guess, Momo, you should let's start out. Shout out. Do you have anything to shout out today?
I don't have anything to shout out today.
Okay. And Worm, you have your shout outs.
Yeah, I'm DiamondWyrm, twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm, at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. Next stream will be 10:30 a.m. PDT tomorrow. That's basically been my thing, is that time on Sundays. And so, yeah.
Cool.
Along with other days. This isn't the only day I stream.
Myself, Dance Down of Dracovin. I do have a schedule. I normally do a lot of tabletop stuff during the week. All goes up on YouTube. It's like Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays for the discussion stuff. Crimson Queen, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. EST. This show at every 6 p.m. That's kind of basically like normal schedule. I'm just gonna let people know now. I've heard talk about it a few times, but since I've been taking a few more, I've been putting time off into my schedule so I can get other things for both life and stuff beyond, and done. I'm gonna be off Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning this week, so I will be technically back for Crimson Queen, and then we'll be back to the normal schedule after that. So just missing a couple of gaming streams and one tabletop stream, just to give a little more of that. Hey, I should give myself some time to catch up on some things and not be streaming, streaming 6 days a week with one possible day off, which is maybe a day off every other week. Doesn't give me a lot of time to do things, I found out.
Yeah.
Anyway. Alright, everybody. I hope you enjoyed social media. Hello for everybody and stuff like that. Have a great rest of your weekend, great rest of your Saturday. Make sure to check out, the Worm live, and I'll be back on Wednesday. And these people will be joining me there, so that's the next time you'll see us all. And until then, I'm going to say, everybody, farewell, goodbye, goodbye, bye. Stop, man.
Bye.